Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second Camp Okema podcast. My name is Landon. I'm joined with my two co-hosts, Jesse and Caleb. How's it going, boys?
It's going pretty good.
Yeah, going good, man.
That's good. We got a very special episode planned for you guys today. We have one of my favorite Okema personalities here joining us. She's blessed the camp by giving us her last 3 summers to work for the camp as a lifeguard. Without her, you wouldn't have been swimming up to your knees at the lake. So give it up for Taylor Henderson. How's it going, Taylor?
I'm good. Thanks for that intro, Eddie.
Yes. Good, you're doing good. That's awesome. So, first question we usually ask everybody: how did you get to know camp? How did you get introduced to Camp Okema?
Camp's pretty much in my blood. I've been a camp baby. So my mom was going to camp when she was a camper, and then I've been going to Okema for 17 years now. So got brought up when I was an infant. I was a tag along right from the start, and then I camper, cabin leader, and naturally I became staff. So Camp Okema is like a deep part of my life. I like a second home almost, I think that way.
That seems to be the cycle for a lot of people that way. Try to find that camp. There's a lot of heads that grew up there.
Yeah.
It seems like. So, do you recall at all what like your first impression was that you remember, if you can think of that far back?
Oh goodness. There's a few like key camp people I can think of. Like shout out Marcel. Like that was like I remember Honey, Do You Love Me? Like playing that with Marcel when I was like so tiny, and I was the one to beat him. Like I don't know how this all happened, but it was like notorious. No one could beat him. We were at some sort of camp, and I just was like, I don't know. I was too cute. Couldn't explain it, but I'd had like the biggest smile on my face. I walked around that camp for the whole week knowing I beat Marcel. That was just something that stuck out to me, but like everything about camp, every time I go back, every time I stay there is nostalgic to me. Like everything from like the staff cabin to like being out in the yard and sitting at the back of Mana. Like it's all blended in.
Yeah, that's awesome. So a lot of people know what it's like to be a camper or a camp staff, but no one's really ever been one of the employees working at camp. So that's kind of what we want to talk to you about a lot today. Bring us through that first year you worked at camp as a lifeguard there. What was that like?
Okay.
What was that experience like?
So kind of a bit of a dream. I feel like for a lot of people to stay at Okema for the whole summer, like what an experience to be able to work and like make money and also be at the place I love. And definitely there's some like positives and negatives to working in that kind of place. But overall, I love working there. Like there's something about like the being at the camp all the time and like even just being able to sit on the beach at night or like little tiny things in my job that I love. And you face a certain amount of like, I'm going to go with burnout at camp. Like you want to give so much to this place you love that it can be really conflicting. And you have to kind of internally work out in that first year. I found what your limits are and how you're going to help people the best and be the best person you can while also like being like not burning out essentially.
Yeah, like you mentioned, like kind of working with fatigue there. Like,
Oh yeah.
talking about like a camp wear off, and yeah, like after like 1 week of camp, I'm tired for like another week.
Yeah.
So I just can't imagine the whole week or a whole summer of doing that.
Essentially, I remember that's how I ran my first week. Like I've cabin led quite a bit in the past, and everyone knows if you've cabin led, you give her as hard as you can for a week. You put everything into camp, and then you go home and sleep for like 24 hours. You don't touch anything. You just like relax when you get home. But I learned very quickly. First week of cabin leader training, we were not like having good routines. We were going to bed at like midnight with the cabin leader. Like we were being inside the camp as much as we could. And like we were up at like 6 a.m. drinking coffee on the patio. Like nothing good. So we hit that Friday or Saturday. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, staff meeting, new camp. And it all hit us so quickly, like how fast the rhythm is. And like, oh, we might want to figure this out before it gets too late. Like it was pretty bad, especially leading into like junior. I was leading quite a few more activities and like trying to plan out stuff. And you kind of learn how to balance and take your time and find things that like to rejuvenate yourself, and taking you time is really important.
Was there anyone there to help you settle in that first year? Like working there, was there any staff who had also worked there previously, or?
That was the first year I worked there. It was Rachel, Garen, and I, and Rachel was really helpful. Rachel was like my little like live-in camp mom a little bit. We'd have some good chats, and she kind of had coached me kind of through like not getting burnout and stuff like that because I was so young. I had never experienced anything like that before. So as far as settling in goes, I felt like I didn't have to settle in. Like camp has always been my home. The adjustment wasn't that big, and Rachel really helped me out that year, and kind of figuring out how to work and live where you work is another thing. That was hard.
So that first camp was technically cabin leader training in 2022, right?
Yep.
So I considered a privilege that I was there for that week, and then also teen at the end of 24, which we'll get to. What do you think would be like the biggest lesson learned from that first week, just like the cabin leader training, like right off the hop?
For me personally,
Yeah.
it was the burnout. I learned right away that you need sleep to be able to work and function and do your job properly. And honestly, that camp, cabin leader training of 22 and teen camp of 24 are my two top favorite ever camps. We
Wow.
we sat down one time and ranked my camps, and this sounds crazy, but once you've been to enough camps, I've got blended camps. Like there's some camps I don't know which ones are which, and you start getting juniors to and it's just all over your head, and they all feel the same. But picking out camps, the teen camps always stand out, and the cabin leader training camps always stand out because it's like a family. You get in there and everyone's together, and like everyone's crying when you leave. Like it's one of those camps, and those two were my favorites. But I mean, I learned something from it, but I don't regret those camps. Like cabin leader of 22. Yeah, I was tired a lot, but it was awesome.
Oh, it was absolutely worth it. That was a fantastic week. I remember that one fondly as well.
Yeah, that was a great question, Jesse. Yeah, so you kind of bring that up because you're there for every week. But obviously, there's differences between all the weeks. But like, what are some that maybe some people don't notice or that obviously stood out to you?
I remember kids when I like meet them and see them, but the age groups make a really big difference. Like some people don't really differentiate junior teen from junior, or even junior teen from teen. Like they're close. There's a huge difference in the atmosphere at these camps and like the kids' ages, because you throw a bunch of 12-year-olds in this camp without their cell phones together, and it's a whole like different ball game than like 13 and 14-year-olds or like 9 and 10-year-olds. Like it's crazy. So you start to pick like you learn a lot about these kids, and I feel like you also learn like how to work with the kids a little better, like the strategies. I always get like a cold awakening when I try to lead a teen camp canoeing group, and I've been leading juniors for like 2 or 3 weeks. Like, okay, this is how we paddle, and or I'm making like jokes or puns, and the teens are looking at me like, what are you doing? It's just
Suppose that would be
here's
an
what-
awakening when you're 15 years old as a staff member, then you're in teen camp and it's all your peers there. That'd be a bit of a ride.
Yeah, it was. I remember Jesse did my interview that year, and they asked me what was one of the hardest things, and I said like everyone at teen camp was older than me even, and not being able to go to teen camp. Like I'd been a camper for so many years, and I loved going to camp, so that was going to be really hard for me. And actually, I remember I met AJ. Like we'd come back from COVID, and I hadn't talked to AJ before that cabin leader training camp of 2022, and he's a really good friend of mine now, and he thought I was 21. When he met me, and he didn't figure it out until like 3 weeks in the summer. Like he's like a month younger than me or something like that.
21 for real?
Yes, you can ask him. I was a little bit offended actually.
AJ, we need a public apology in the comments.
We do, right? Like, but he actually hurt my feelings a little bit. But the position you're in and the authority you have, kind of, I was able to draw a line more clearly than I thought it was. And although it was kind of hard to see my peers like participating in the activities, I still, the leaders were always really good, and I played in the games, and I came to chapels and campfires, and I still felt like I was included in those camps, as well as had held my responsibilities as a lifeguard.
Right.
Yeah.
Your first summer there on a scale from 1 to 5, how do you rate it?
I'm gonna go with like a 3.25.
3.25. Okay. that's
Yeah. Teen camp rock that year. I remember it was really good, but there's a lot of dealing with burnout, and like I was obviously pretty homesick. Like I was 15 years old and I didn't have my license, and I stayed for like 2 or 3 weeks at once at camp. And otherwise though, like again, I love camp. Like it rocked. I don't have anything bad to say about it really.
Get ready for an unforgettable summer at Camp Okema. Check out our exciting 2025 schedule. July 5th, open house and new color run. July 6th to 11th, cabin leader training ages 14 plus. July 13th to 18th, junior teen, ages 13 to 15. July 20th to 25th, junior, ages 10 to 12. July 20th to 25th, youth canoe camp, ages 13 to 18. July 27th to 30th, small fry, ages 7 to 9. August 2nd to 5th, family camp, which is all ages. August 8th to 12th, we have a new adult canoe camp, which is ages 18 plus. August 10th to 16th is teen camp, grades 9 to 12. For more details and to get involved, visit our website at campokema.com and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Camp Okema and on Instagram at Camp Okema. And talking about all those camp weeks, if you've been there over the past 3 years, you obviously would have seen Taylor, our guest today, there as our lifeguard. So I know, Taylor, while you were kind of talking with Landon there, you had kind of mentioned burnout through 2022. So I was kind of wondering, at the end of the summer, did you know that you were going to be returning as a summer staff in 2023, or was there any kind of hesitancy around that?
Actually, I didn't think I was going to come back. I was very, very tired by the end, and I just went home and slept for like a full week. I remember, and I didn't think about camp for 2 months, which is so bizarre because our normal camp experience, if you've ever been a camper or a cabin leader at camp, is you leave camp and immediately miss it. Like you want to go back. Like I remember the feeling so well of like crying when I was a kid, laying in my bed, being like, "Mom, take me back to camp. I want to go back to junior 2." Like it sucked. And I came home and I was just very done. I'd been there for 2 months. I missed my family. It was a big change. And then like December came around and January, and then the camp employment list came out, and all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, I kind of want to do this again." And then I applied. So I was like, "I'm doing this again," and I applied and I got it again, and I was thrilled. Because in the end, it was a great experience and I loved it. Yeah. But yeah, originally I hadn't wanted to go back, which is funny.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I feel like once kind of the summer ends after camp, I know Instagram, Facebook lights up with the photos. Everyone's kind of reminiscing. But I know I don't think you were alone in that. I know there's a lot of people that kind of feel that burnout after camp and just kind of that question coming up. So I know everyone who's attended since that year and on are extremely glad that you did come back to be a lifeguard. So maybe one more question before we jump into 2023. Initially, when you were gonna kind of have employment at camp, was there anything that kind of brought you to wanting to be the lifeguard at camp, or did you have any interest in any of the other jobs that were posted, or kind of what led you to wanting to be the lifeguard?
I ended up being a lifeguard because I had all my training. Like it was something I'd always thought about. Like I was always ahead in swimming lessons, and my mom would be like, "Oh, maybe one day you could be like Rachel, or one day you could be like Sarah." And that was always kind of something in the back of my head. So in 2021, 2022, that fall or the late into that year, Sarah reached out to me and she's like, "Taylor, we'd love if you'd come." And they didn't have a lifeguard that year, and she knew I had my bronze cross, which is one step away from your NL, which is all you need for camp. And I was like, I thought about doing it next year. I had planned on doing it when I was 16. And she said, "We'd love to have you out." So I applied and I got it. And it's kind of just been history since. And
Right.
I had thought about like doing maintenance or something like that, just because I have the ability, I have the skills. I grew up on a farm, for anyone who knows me well. But I just feel like I still get to, being a lifeguard at camp isn't just about being the lifeguard. I do so much behind the scenes and jobs that like are so crazy that it's hard to even explain them to people. Squirrel shred is one of the things. Jesse was there.
If I never had to go in that building for the rest of my life, I'd be happy.
Yeah, me too.
Like, especially after cleaning it a couple times, I'm over it. Maybe we should just give it back to the squirrels. Like, honestly, like, what are we saving it for at this point?
I kind of a sidetrack, Caleb, but I remember one day Jesse was up where we were doing something and Garen was in the chemical shed. We were cleaning up these sheds and I was in the squirrel shed probably for like 9 straight hours. Like it was something really ridiculous like that. I spent so much time in that shed and we came out like in a haze. Like we were like Rachel looked at us in Manor House and said, "Go get some sleep." Like we were well, it was fun.
Most of the mold and the mildew in there would have been like putting you in a trance after a
Yeah.
certain amount of time. I mean the chemical shed, like Garen, who knows?
The paint over the power.
Yeah, I feel like the squirrel shed is almost like a rite of passage. If you've been at camp long enough, you eventually get to a point where it's like, hey, you need to do some work on the squirrel shed, in the squirrel shed, or you just need to spend some time out there, which is unfortunate. That was a great story, Taylor. And I kind of like how you touched on you were the lifeguard, but you weren't just doing swim time, right? You had so many other things that you were doing, and I think that's kind of what makes Camp Okema special is that everyone's involved in everything, and that's kind of what creates that tight knit community, which is really cool. Going into 2023, this is your second year in a row. Maybe what were some of the bigger differences in year number 2 than in year number 1? Like, was there anything noticeable during your second term there?
I felt like I had these tools and I knew more like what the summer was going to be. Because that first summer I was like thrown in head first, deep end. Like I didn't know what I was doing, and I felt like I had my feet on the ground a little bit more. Knew what to expect, knew it was coming. I felt a lot more confident. Like the first summer, there was a lot more hesitancy, like a little bit of insecurity in like the job I was doing. 2023 was just like strong, and I felt very good about that summer. All the camps ran well. I knew what I was doing a lot better, and yeah.
Yeah, so your team as the summer staff, were there any returning members or was it kind of a totally new summer staff that year in 2023? Do you remember?
I do. Yeah, I just
Oh, you
remember.
do.
Uh, Tira was with us that year. Kaylee, Ivy, and Garen again. So Garen was returning, and then everyone else was new.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
What
what
was the average age on that staff? Was it
Um,
would it have even been 17?
I 16. Kaylee was 16. Ivy had graduated. She was 18. Garen was 20. Thyatira was
Oh,
wow.
I misjudged that, but still pretty young. Still
Right.
pretty young.
Yeah.
I was pretty young.
Which is
Yeah.
kind of interesting because I guess you being still one of the youngest members, you still had served almost one of the most times, I guess tied with Garen the year before at 2 years. And I know a lot of the time there's quite a bit of turnover, kind of one and done years for summer staff. So that was also probably a pretty unique thing to be back a second year. But I know 2023, that was a year of camp that I actually wasn't there. So were there any like standout memories from any of the camps during 2023? I know it can get a little bit hazy with kind of
Yeah.
mixing the years, but even if there was kind of something that sticks out in your mind, whether it was an activity or a specific camp or just a memory from that 2023 summer.
Well, like I was saying, the camps, they do blend
Yeah.
together pretty well. But there's one story I love, and it's probably one of my favorite camp stories to this day. And I love the small fry groups, which most people don't expect out of me, but they're one of my favorite groups. And for one reason, we had staff issues, or I actually don't remember the root cause of why this happened, but it was a small camp. There was 11 kids or 12 kids or something like that. And they needed the kids gone out of the camp while they were dealing with this issue. So they basically looked at me and said, "You have 20 minutes. Please take these kids." And I was like, let's give her, So I had them bring all their shoes and their waters, and we put them in milk crates and got them all their life jackets on. And I was taking them to Ferry Island, and I had a great group of cabin leaders with me. Like Ben stands out to me, Owens, and it was one of his first summers, and he killed it that week. The kids adored him, and we took all these kids in their canoes and we took them to Ferry Island, and we're telling them stories about why it's called Ferry Island, and you could see the ferries from the Okema beach at night, and they were living for it. It was the cutest thing ever. And we got there, and we were walking kind of the haphazard trail that was there, and showing them the ferry food, and by the end of that trip, every single one of those kids had seen ferries, and they were absolutely living for that time. And we took them off you can kind of go swimming in that little area there. I just remember these kids were having such a good time. Like I was still a little bit worried about what was going on at camp. And they were gone for like 2.5 hours or something that afternoon. We called it the water afternoon. And by the time we took them all back, and I actually still have kids that come up to me that I've seen since that camp, and they go like, "How's been?" They'll talk to me about it. It's one of those like core things that I remember.
That's good that you did that. Like those kids are going to remember that and pass that along if they keep coming back. So that's a good one.
Yeah.
Those kind of things that make up the camp years to me. You know what I mean? Like that's what's me from my childhood. Like I remember those cabin leaders and those leaders that took us and gave their time and that kind of thing. So it's really important to me that I give that back to these kids.
Yeah, and I think that's the really cool thing. I know coming from a leader perspective is it means a lot when you have some of those returning kids or leaders coming up and saying, "Hey, I remember this specific thing from your camp," because it could be something even that you personally may view as small, but you don't really know that impact until they come and tell you that. So that's really cool. And I mean Fairy Island, I mean amazing place that the camp has access to bring kids out
Oh
to.
my
So
goodness.
yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Kind of going the same route as Landon here. 2023, if you were to put that on the same scale, 1 to 5, where would you place that?
I'm gonna put it at like a 4, just below a 4. Like it was I felt like the same about that summer. It was awesome. Like I loved my job, and I felt more confident in my role. Like I really got along with Ivy and Kaylee were there that summer, which were like more of my peers, and I was able to hang out with them a whole lot more. And yeah, it rocked.
Yeah.
Good summer.
Oh, that's amazing.
Hello, Camp Okema family. Coming up on Saturday, April 5th, 2025, we will be having the spring banquet for Camp Okema at St. Stephen's Anglican Church in Saskatoon. The address is 10 Grosvenor Crescent. Doors are at 5. The dinner will be served at 5:30. Tickets for adults is $30 each. Youth under 18 is $20 each, and children ages 5 and under get in free. So once again, the spring banquet for Camp Okema is Saturday, April 5th. Keep an eye out on Camp Okema socials for how to get tickets, and we'll see you there. 2024. You're back. You know, we're running it back. Like we just can't get rid of you at this point.
Kept coming.
Was there ever any doubts that you were going to come back for a third year?
That summer there was no doubt. I was coming back.
Like how could they possibly say no to you? Right, you're a superstar. You're back for the third straight time. Like you've done it so much. Like you've kind of written the book on what the day to day looks like. I'm sure for staff. What was different, if anything, going into this summer?
A little different. Like every year we deal with different staff dynamic, and this year's I loved this year's staff dynamic. Like we had Sam, who was our oldest and headed up everyone, and then Caden, Anna, and Coulter. So it was the first year we had a younger staff member than me, which was kind of fun. And the staff dynamic kind of changes a lot of how you run camp. And like this year, I particularly appreciated like we'd gather for morning prayer sometimes, which was something that was an initiative by Sarah and Brody, and we do more staff meetings. And I felt like our staff this year was appreciated.
Yeah, Coulter Johnson, kind of the rookie for sure. Does he have a few more years of staff in him, do you think?
I think Coulter's got a few more years of staff in him. He's born for camp. He's a camp kid through and through. And you talk to the guy, and he just gives her. There's no other word for it. Coulter's always trying to give us 100% to everything, and he's always got what to say. Man, I don't know how much more I can say about Coulter and his.
He's an awesome kid. Yeah, no doubt. I need to shout out David, his dad, and Brett, his aunt, longtime Okema heads that my sister and I grew up with. So I am not shocked at all that Coulter Johnson is doing it right for Camp Okema. I guess next question: what stands out? You know, your third time back. Like a part of me feels like maybe you've seen it all to an extent, but there had to have been something or some things new that really stood out in 2024.
You're right to a point. Like third summer, there's not much new coming at you. Something that was absolutely amazing to see. Like I physically can't express to you the way it makes me feel was looking at the camper numbers this year. You're there for 2 years, and I see every kid that comes to that camp. I look at all the camper sheets. I see all these like progress, and I talk to all the board members and what this all means. And there's nothing like looking at a camper list and seeing like, are we going to have enough cabin leaders? Like that's something we want to be worrying about, and having kids and having these kids, more kids to enjoy camp. Because we saw kids come through that were like, I'm coming back next year. And then it feels so slow when you're in it. But to be able to see those numbers rise this third year was amazing. And like, I just feel so hopeful from this last summer.
I think a lot of us share that too. And I think you're right. 2025 will continue the upward trend of registration. So at least I really hope so. And anybody on the fence, remembers just how much fun it is. And even though it's, so many months ago and, it's been -40 this last week or whatever it has, that it will get better and will be Camp Okema time pretty soon. Looking back at all 3 years, do you feel like you missed out on teen camp?
Maybe a little bit. I feel like it's hard for me because I can't miss what I've never had. I've never been a teen camp camper, so I don't know what it's like. But I feel like I'm never quite gonna know what it's like because I've always been behind the scenes. Like I've never felt a teen camp surprise because I've been in the staff meeting planning it 3 days before. You know what I mean? But also part of me feels like I've never missed out because I've been included. Like, although I'm doing my job the entire time, I'm running activities, I'm doing what you guys need me to do. I'm at chapel, I'm at campfire, I'm playing a wide game. We're on the camp trip, we're doing the WWE Mania. I'm there for it. I feel like I haven't completely missed out. I don't have I don't have bad feelings towards it at all. Not something
Well,
I regret working for.
I'm really happy to hear that because it would be tough to, I don't want to say you're on the sideline, but in a way you were with your peers. And do you have a word for future staff, maybe your age, who are about to go through, or a word to the wise, I guess, when they get to that teen week?
I am not sure, Jesse. Like,
Not
it's hard.
everybody's built for it, man. Like,
No.
and some would struggle, and I can think of a couple who did over the years, and
Yeah,
they
no,
they couldn't hang once it was that time.
and like I definitely had moments for sure in my first and second year where I'd go back to my cabin and be like upset or sad I'm missing out. But in the long run, I don't think it was worth like I would have loved to go to teen camp, but I loved working at camp more, and it was something I was willing to sacrifice to work
Mhm.
there. So I guess think about the bigger picture in the end. I in the end I loved working at Okema and for Okema. So missing teen camp was something that I willingly sacrificed to do that. And I'm not upset at that decision at all.
Very mature answer, and respect to you. When I think of those teen weeks, you're in there, you're in the mix. I'm sure all your peers will remember you there as well. So I'm glad you answered the way you did, because I in my heart, I don't think that you were left out at all. Maybe one thing you wished you would have been left out of, though, is the sickness that hit teen camp in 2022. Did you get hit with that bug near the end of the week?
Sickness is teen camp 2022. Sorry, this is like digging at this here. I think I missed it that week. Was that the whole water thing? That wasn't really the water thing?
Yes.
I remember that. I did get sick that summer though. And I think I got sick in junior or something like that. And
Okay.
I'm sure to this day it was like stress sickness. Like I was not getting enough sleep. I was not doing what I should have been doing to keep myself rested. At that point I'd been more figured out, but haven't actually gotten sick in the last 2 years. Knock on wood.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hadn't been sick at camp in, I don't know, like 18 years leading up to that one. And boy, did I find out the hard way. But that's a story for another time.
Well, 2022, I remember that whole summer we were eating outside. Like it was still COVID. Like wasn't that still COVID
You're
precautions?
thinking of 21.
Oh, well, now I'm pulling a Caleb here with my ears. Well, even there.
So you weren't even staffed then, man. You gotta,
Yeah, I know.
chill. Yeah. Question for in the water. I think you lived through 2 different docks, lifeguard docks. Am I
Yes.
remembering that right? Did
Yep.
that first one, if I remember correctly, did it ever properly float at any point?
So Jesse, I don't know if you remember this, but I very clearly remember like being very nervous about my new job and not knowing how this was going to work. No one was mentoring me here. And like the day before camp started, Jesse's like, just met this guy, by the way. He was like, let's go get this dock out. And I was like, okay. He's like, we have to go to the shop first. And I was like, for what? And he's like, well, zip ties and the drill and stuff. Why? And it was so bad. Like we were zip tying left and right. Do you remember that?
Yeah, vaguely. Like, I mean, it was just like, oh, camp starts tomorrow. We better get this out here.
What a way to scare your first lifeguard out of there. Like it was, it floated for like 3 days after that. And then like we get bad enough waves sometimes that it would just like lay on the shore. So I kept zip ties in the canoe shed for like every 3 days when I needed to re-zip tie.
Well, thank goodness they can fundraise and get a new dock after that. Okay, other questions for you. Couple more. Who was your favorite campaign team?
That's controversial. I don't know if I can answer that.
Okay, well, you can split it into two. Who was the best and who was your favorite?
I love a good underdog. You know what I mean? I always have kind of been like a little bit of a Morton. Like I just feel sorry for them. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
I love all the campaign teams. They're all like so cool in their little individual ways. Like I like actively go back and watch like music videos like regularly, probably every month, just to like remember the campaign teams. And like they're all iconic in their own little ways, and each activity is like kind of tailored for them. And I also feel like each year we've run a teen camp that the win, like it's so good. You know what I mean? Like those final points or the unfair game, how it like throws everything over again, or like there's not a takeaway runaway year. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm. If you think you would have played, where do you think you would have ended up or wanted to, I guess?
I think I would have been a Mitchell or a Holmes. I think I would have been one of the two.
I was going to say,
everybody wants to be a Mitchell.
Yeah, I was going to say one of those is a correct answer and one of those is a very unfortunate answer. But that's,
Okay, well, I think it would have depended on the year I came in. Like if I would have only worked one summer or only worked 2 summers, like it depends on what year I fell in, because then the drafts worked out differently.
Yeah,
like, I think the answer depended.
Yeah,
because Mitchell was staffed the year I came in.
Yeah, that was the last year of Katrin and the reign of terror that they held over the campaign scene for 3 years or 4 years or whatever it was. 2024, the boys asked you for scores on the previous years. Do you have one for 2024?
That one's high. I really love this last year. I'd probably put it at like a 4.5. Like it was great. I don't have anything like bad to say about it. I knew what I was doing. I was content where I was. I was happy with the people I was with. Like just rocked summer camp summer for the year. Like it was awesome.
That's really great to hear, especially that every year improved. Okay, well, Tay, we got a couple more questions for you. This is more on the lighter side. I know, well, all the questions have been light, but we're going to get even lighter. Picture yourself. You're walking into Manor House.
I'm here.
You're the last person to go in usually because you're staff, unfortunately.
It's very unfortunate.
And you pick up the aroma of your favorite camp meal. What is it?
Baked oatmeal.
Baked oatmeal.
Baked oatmeal since the get-go. But I can't have it at home. It's a camp thing.
Yeah.
Particularly with the berries. Some cooks will whip out the berries for the top of the. That's it right there. To the point where the staff members I've worked with know there's always going to be a container with my name on it in the fridge full of baked oatmeal, and if they touch it, we have issues. Like that's my mistake. You can see me in that kitchen at like 11 o'clock. I'm eating my baked oatmeal.
Okay, well, first off, lights out are at 11. Second, anybody listening who is ready to mess with Taylor, the baked oatmeal is off limits. Proceed at your own risk. Next question. You're down at campfire, okay? You're on one of those logs that are sawed in half.
Yep.
your friends are around you, somebody's playing guitar, they call out your favorite song, the page number, you know it. As soon as you hear it, you get so excited because that song is
Page 67. Does anyone know it?
Dang, you got me. I don't know.
Oh, come on.
I
Really?
can't count past 5, so
You caught us posing. Could you please enlighten
Oh,
us
sorry.
on what?
Seek Ye
Yeah.
First. It's kind of just a
Oh.
banger pick, yeah. Followed by it's 69, I want to say Refiner's Fire.
Oh, two.
Someone's gonna go look at it.
Good one.
Someone's gonna go look at a camp book and just tell me I'm wrong, actually. But
If you have the camp book at home and you're able to comment, please leave one below. Yeah, Seek Ye First. It's an undeniable. Yeah, you can't argue. The leadership of Teen over the years, we joke that we have like a greatest hits Camp Okema. And we joke that we're gonna like make CDs with the greatest hits. I don't see how Seek Ye First isn't on there. It's just
no,
Yeah.
you can't argue with that one, especially if you get a good group and you get that round going. If you've ever been a part of the round, like it's good. I'm a fan. It's 65. Refiner's Fire is 65.
Dang.
That's what that. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, R
It's been a
before S, I
while.
guess. R before S. Yeah. Next one. The bell has rung after supper. It's camp-wide game. You show up. Kaleb and I are there, ready to say what the camp game's going to be. And it's your favorite. What game have we just announced?
Oh my goodness. I've never been asked this question.
That's why we're here. Hard-hitting.
Yeah,
criminal.
you're really deep here. Well, I love a good teen camp game. Like, I don't know how else to say that. Like when you and Kaleb show up and come up with something that's absolutely wild and we don't know how to play, like you're just throwing us at something. Like there's something really classic about that. Otherwise, I think I have to say Bible Smugglers. Like,
Nice.
yeah.
So good.
There's nothing like a game of like good classic Bible Smugglers. Like both sides. I love both sides of that. Like nothing like being a camper and just like fighting for your life against the camp leaders, and nothing like being a camp leader and like just wanting to destroy a bunch of campers, you know?
There was no greater fear than coming around the corner of Sleepy Hollow to seeing a much larger adult staff member ready to tag you. It was exhilarating and terrifying at the same time.
And I think the
Mhm.
best part about that game from recent memory is that's generally the game that happens on like the first night of camp, is it not?
Yeah.
And like you
Yeah.
don't even know your leader at that point necessarily unless you've been coming for years. You don't know maybe half of the kids. So the fact that you're neck and neck with a newly met leader just running you down, I feel like that adds to it as well. But it's an excellent choice.
It's a great icebreaker. I'm going to get you. I'm coming for you. Those are endearing words for making friends. Doesn't everybody say that?
Exactly. That's exactly what I say. Yeah.
Okay, Tay, before we close it up, I'm interested in knowing what's the plan going forward, 2025. Do we see you at Camp Okema again?
Well, you know how I was saying, like you hit December, you hit January, you hit February, and I'm like, oh, temptation to go back is really strong. So I'm gonna leave it an unknown right now. I need a job. I do have to go to school next year. I will be working somewhere, and I will try. I've already had at least 4 texts about people wanting me to either lead or work or cabin leads. So Taylor will make an appearance at Okema 2025, but
Good.
where
Good.
is unknown.
Okay, well, I'm excited to find out, as I'm sure Landon and Kaleb are as well, and all the listeners.
you should also bring up how can people apply for Okema if they do want to get a job like Taylor.
Well, I'm very familiar with the process. You just get into Camp Okema's website and you click on their lovely little employment tab, and you send in your cover letter, little application, and then is Jesse, are you on the board still?
I'm not, but I will share that another helpful tip would be to not only do what Taylor said, but to text or call the person that you're connected with at the camp to let them know.
Yep.
And
Good plan.
because they'll be looking forward to hearing from you, because it's always difficult. And if you're a willing person that wants to be there, no, we're gonna take you with. Well, I don't make that decision, but they're gonna be very happy to hear that you
Yeah.
want to be there. So please do
The
that.
job
Great.
reviews just get better. So
That's true. I'm sure. Well, Taylor, thank you so much for not only agreeing to come on the pod as one of our inaugural guests, but being willing to open up and share some of your stories. All three of us really appreciate it.
absolutely. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, Taylor.
Well,
Thanks.
folks, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy this podcast, hopefully there will be an option for you to like and subscribe on YouTube. And we're going to have an Instagram account at Camp Okema Podcast. So follow that. If you have any questions or anything like that, leave us a comment, send us a DM. We'll get back to you. For Landon, Kaleb, Taylor, I'm Jesse. Thanks so much for listening, and see you at camp.